Hey guys, so first thing on the docket with this chapter to talk about, let's dive right into Shiki's response from Shura's outreach to be friends, because the pretty much way that the pretty much way that pretty much Majima had structured this and the way it played out, it's one of those things where on one hand it is a very slight regression of character on Shiki's part that he pretty much fell for such an obvious ruse to begin with. But on the other hand, being surrounded and attacked by Shura's small army of robots, I feel is kind of and the way it's handled, the first way you pretty much see like Shiki beg them, say, "Please stop! I don't want to hurt you." I feel this is the only way for Shiki to learn the most important lesson he has yet to learn, which is that if you have a goal, dream, anything you want to accomplish, you also need to have the will, the fortitude, and the conviction to follow through to make it happen. And part of that also includes sometimes doing things you might that you pretty much aren't going to want to do, and pretty much are in direct opposition to your very ideology. Like, and the perfect example of this is again in Shura. Like on surface level, when it comes to Shura, we as the viewer, we pretty much may perceive him as a psychotic nutcase. But throughout this entire chapter, through just his unrelenting brutality, he showed how strong both his conviction and drive to make his dream of destroying machine kind a reality truly is. Shiki, on the other hand, he doesn't have that same driving conviction to do what's necessary because while he talks and believes in the idea of peace between humans and machines, he never once asked himself what he was willing to do or what he even needed to do at all in order to achieve it. And now, in a sort of indirect way, Shura is forcing the question upon Shiki. How much further can this hopeful and optimistic approach about peace truly take him before he's forced to acknowledge that reality isn't so simple or straightforward, and that if Shiki truly believes in the idea of peace between human and machines, if it's something he truly wants to achieve, he has to be willing to fight for it, and that includes doing things he might be uncomfortable with. Like it is something he needs to accept that in order to truly that this world isn't just going to naturally like is going to naturally come together and sing kumbaya. He actually needs to work towards and fight for it. Otherwise, Shura wins. Shura's goal, destroying machine kind, it wins. Humanity is the dominant species on the planet. Machines are just the obedient servants. Again, it's something he really needs to realize, and I hope this after this chapter that he realizes this. Um, Now, with that said, there's a lot of other stuff going on with this chapter but a lot of other stuff going on with this chapter between Shura pretty much abandoning his fight with Shiki in order to attack the Eden Zero and the Star Shrines, while Weiss and Rebecca have to deal with a mentally controlled Homura, courtesy of Lyra of the Ocean Six. Yeah, both are very terrifying situations right now that I'm not sure how they can get out of. And honestly, so far everything feels perfectly aligned in some way or another in order for Mashima to pretty much pull another cat leap or time jump off, with how everything is practically going to shit for our heroes right now. But frankly, even though I had previously stated I was on board with the idea, in this particular setup, in this particular way of how everything has just gone completely wrong for our heroes, depending on how it goes from here, I'm a lot more worried about that possibility of Cat Lever being used than I had initially thought. Now that I'm seeing how it might potentially happen, because the big thing for me right now is oddly enough is timing. More specifically, what particular moment that Mashima is going to choose when to pretty much use Cat Leaper again, and even then, I have to kind of ask myself how with the kind of development we're getting with Shiki right now. I have to ask myself how far back will pretty much end up going if Rebecca uses it. If we go back like far enough to the point where Urprum Shura is making his friendship offer to Shiki, that could still more. I could still see ways in which that can more or less work for me in terms of how it could still play into Shiki's development. But if we go back to the right to the time right before Shiki even begins his battle with Shura, that's where I can see how this would still. I can still see how it might work, but I do feel that the one thing that's lost is, and where my feelings are a little complicated, is it could somewhat hinder the just the point and impact of this lesson that Shiki needs to learn. And personally, right now, I guess I'm just hoping if Mashima is planning to use it again, it'll be during a more appropriate moment as he'll choose wisely as when to use it. And honestly, actually, the more I'm thinking about it, the more appropriate moment and when to use Cat Leaper, I think it would first be at the point where the All Link is activated. Like, I get the feeling right now that one way or another, the All Link is going to be activated, and it'll be around that point. It'll be around that point. That would be like the perfect time in order to activate Cat Leaper, I think. Like so they can just kind of go back and redo it all over and just kind of redo it all over again from stopping Cat Leaper from being activated. And yeah, as of right now, I'm not sure which fight has me more terrified to watch unfold. Whether it's the battle of Weiss and Rebecca needing to face down Lyra, or Shura looking like he's about about to pretty much tear the Starshines apart piece by piece. Personally, for as weird as it's gonna sound, I'm more like terrified and concerned about the Lyra fight, considering her strength is still unknown to us, and we can only assume the Ocean 6, strength-wise, are pretty much on the level, if not stronger, than Draken's Element 4. In fact, honestly, I think it could really help. I think Weiss and Rebecca, even though this battle hasn't started, I think Weiss and Rebecca could pretty much already do with a little bit of backup from Laguna. I think, because what better way for a former Element 4 member in order to face down Lyra. Like, I'm just saying, that might probably be the best case scenario right now. Because the other thing too is, I have a feeling with as many mirrors as there are in that room, I imagine Lyra's powers extend more to just mind control. Like, she's basically got some other kind of power that we're not seeing yet. Even though this battle has only begun, and it kind of terrifies me in that regard. And, like, don't get me wrong, Shura facing down the Starshines is going to be brutal in itself, no question. But weirdly, looking at the setup of the Battle of the Starshines versus Shura, the one advantage I feel Witch, Ivory, and Hermit have is that for however powerful Shura is, they do hold a distinct tactical advantage of being closely affiliated, allied with wielders of Satan gravity their entire lives at this point. So it's one of those things where I say there is no way that they would have spent all that time with Ziggy and this time they spent with Shura if they didn't know of ways to counter that kind of power. Now, I still believe Shura's gonna win in the I still believe Shura's gonna win in the end, but I don't think that they're gonna make it an easy victory from her either. Like, again, I don't think that they would have spent as much time with from Shiki and with Shiki and Ziggy if they didn't have some way in which to counter that power, just in case they needed to. With that said, there is one little thing I do want to bring up in regards to Shura's speech to Shiki about being friends, because for as twisted as it may sound coming from someone like him, there is still oddly this weird grain of truth about it, in the sense where just because people have differing views and ideologies doesn't mean they can't be friends. And I I normally don't want to get very political about it, but I myself, for example, largely categorize myself as politically independent and really only believe in something if it sounds sensible on a sensible statistically. Like if there's reason to believe that we can improve the world in some way, do it. Like I say we should do it. My friend Palmer is essentially the same. He's pretty much independent, but he will. The one thing I do find is that he will also lean a little bit more slightly conservative if it calls for him to vote that way in the moment. But we still very much fairly and equally agree on a lot of other issues. Only difference here, only difference here compared to my case though is once again, Sure is a raving lunatic and someone everyone should avoid being friends with. It doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree with them. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and share the video around, guys. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.